Premier Holt, welcome back to Power Play. Thanks for being here.
I really appreciate the opportunity, Mike. Thank you.
So today, Prime Minister Carney called this a bill that is decades in the making, but this is just the federal government's contribution to removing a lot of those barriers. How much more work do the provinces have to do in order to really remove all barriers to trade in this country?
Well, there is a bit more work on our part. Thankfully, we've been doing it for a number of months now, and New Brunswick in particular has done the work to take exemptions off the table, to pass. Today, actually, we received royal assent for bills on labor mobility, on direct-to-consumer alcohol. So there is work happening with all of the provinces to get rid of our own barriers to real free trade from coast to coast to coast in Canada.
I know that you've had a number of those bilateral deals, but there has been one that's been a point of contention in getting a deal between your province and Nova Scotia with the agreement of processing crown wood in New Brunswick. If you're dug in on that, can there really be a true free trade across this country?
Well, I think we can get there. I think Nova Scotia's been signing some more deals and realizing that there are a couple things in a few provinces, whether it's fish in Newfoundland or trees in New Brunswick, or maybe it's a critical mineral out west, that those are things that we still need some time to work through to make sure that it's in the best interest of New Brunswickers. But in the meantime, let's not let perfect be the enemy of good. We want to make progress. We're ready to recognize the goods and services and people from Nova Scotia here in New Brunswick, and we hope they're ready to do the same so that we can make progress together, even if it's not 100%. I think 95% was still a win for me when I was in school, and I think 95% would be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are today.
You say give it a bit of time, but how much more time, especially when you consider 92% of what New Brunswick exports goes to the United States? So people know in your province how desperate the situation is right now. So how much time are you willing to spend on this in order to, as you said, get it right, but maybe not perfect, and really get all those barriers out of the way, given the trade war that is happening right now and how exposed you are to the United States?
Well, I think that's it. That's why New Brunswick was the first one to move on this. And we came to that first FPT table, having already passed through Cabinet the removal of exemptions from our Canada Free Trade Agreement. We're the only province to come with exemptions already passed through Cabinet and taken off the books. And so we want to see that movement happen by July 1st, the same sort of schedule that Prime Minister Carney has. And I think that we can take that massive step together, and then the forestry piece or the fishery piece in other provinces, or the mineral piece, or Crown corporations, I think that we all agree are going to sit outside of this. Those can sit outside, and we can still make a massive leap forward in the work in very short order.
But if those are still sitting outside, is that really progress if that means that there still will be some barriers remaining?
Oh, I think it's massive progress. I mean, getting transportation in particular moving will have the largest impact on the provinces and the country's GDP, right? If a long combination vehicle can get from Moncton, New Brunswick over to Moose Jaw without changing drivers or first aid kits or unhitching, then that takes time and money out of the prices for goods and back into our economy. And so moving on transportation, moving on labor mobility, moving on the mutual recognition of goods and services and workers, those are huge things. The Crown wood in New Brunswick is a small thing. And so I think we have already made major strides, and we're going to go even further here in the next few weeks.
On some of those big nation-building projects, Prime Minister Carney said he would seek consensus to make sure that they are in the national interest. Do you think that hampers big projects like pipelines, since you consider the fact that BC Premier David Eby and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith aren't really aligned on a new pipeline on that side of the country?
I think it certainly means that we've got our work cut out for us as premiers around a table where Canadians are telling us clearly they love to see us working together. They love to see this kind of unity and the kind of Team Canada approach that we've had ever since Trump threatened the tariffs a number of months ago. They want us to work together, and I think all of us are feeling that from our provinces, that folks want to see outcomes where we all get together and move things forward in the best interest of the true North Strong and Free. And so I think that puts the onus on all of us to find compromise, to find ways that we can get creative and make projects work in the best interest of everyone. And look, I actually think, I'm biased, but New Brunswick fared really well in Saskatoon. We walked away with our major priorities being recognized in the top 5 projects that the Prime Minister communicated. I think we're really well positioned as a province that has both the resources, the connections, our trade corridors, our ports, our electricity infrastructure to play a big role in the kind of nation-building projects and trade diversification that is featured prominently in this Prime Minister's focus. So I'm pretty excited about how this is setting up for New Brunswick to play the lead role that we can in the work ahead.
One of the projects that I know is top of mind for New Brunswickers and yourself is that natural gas pipeline that is an extension from Quebec City to your province. Now, you said that you had discussions with Quebec Premier François Legault to talk about that extension. How did that go, and what did he tell you about that project?
Yeah, Prime Minister, my French brain is kicking in. Premier Legault has expressed that he's open. He's open to the conversations and to figuring out what that might look like, where it might go, how it could benefit the folks in those 300-kilometer area of his province, folks in Rivière-du-Loup and others that might also want to benefit from natural gas, and how that'll impact Edmundston and Madawaska and the Port of Belledune and places in New Brunswick, and so what the opportunities it creates could be between his province and mine. So he's been open to the conversations, and we're optimistic that this is the kind of nation building, the kind of connection of resources and infrastructure, province to province to province, that Canadians will benefit from, and that the Prime Minister wants to see.
The Prime Minister had also talked about this Eastern Energy Partnership, and not necessarily a pipeline, but this energy partnership that does have a number of tentacles in it. Now, because that type of consensus is needed, if that extension of that natural gas pipeline from Quebec City to New Brunswick isn't included in that partnership, would you withhold your support for that consensus that could hold up other projects to use it almost as a bargaining chip?
Oh, interesting. I think I don't think we're there yet. I think there's lots of opportunity in the Eastern Energy Partnership. It's something that I was pretty pleased to pull together in partnership with Premier Houston and Premier Lance, Premier Hogan, and we engaged with Premier Ford and Premier Legault on it. Because you're right, I think tentacles is a great way to put it. We have an opportunity to build some energy infrastructure, and in New Brunswick, some new generation, some of this next stage nuclear and nuclear generation that is going to benefit Quebec and PEI and others, help us build the kind of resiliency into our grid and strengthen some of our opportunities to serve the U.S. and other markets. That's really interesting and exciting for New Brunswick, as well as connecting some of that natural gas infrastructure into our province. And so we're not at a place where we're bargaining. The Eastern Energy Partnership is a big win for New Brunswick because of its transmission, generation, and infrastructure components. And so we're really excited that it was on the priority list and ready to move forward. As I will say, Mike, this is one of the projects that can move more quickly than most. And the Prime Minister seems like a pretty impatient guy. He wants to see results fast from this major project initiative. I think he's given us a sort of 2-year commitment to turn it around, but a 5-year lifespan. And so this is the kind of project we can get done in 5 years. And so it's going to be good for New Brunswickers, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it there. New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, Mike. Have a great weekend.